Thank you, Bridget. I'm here tonight with my good friend and LAOH Vice President, Marilyn Madigan, and we have the great honor to present the Sean MacBride Humanitarian Award to Geraldine Finucane. And while Geraldine regrettably cannot join us tonight in Youngstown, this does not take away from the importance of this prestigious award. So Geraldine, a very hearty virtual welcome to Youngstown, Ohio. Marilyn will now provide some background information on Geraldine. Marilyn?
On February 12, 1989, Geraldine's husband, Pat, was murdered, shot 14 times as he sat with her and their children at Sunday dinner. As a wife and mother, she immediately had to deal with the brutal and graphic nature of his loss that she suffered. Yet almost immediately, she began asking questions about her husband's murder. Why had he received death threats via his clients from the police? Why had the British minister stood in the House of Commons and paved the way for his murder only weeks prior? Geraldine then began what has evolved into an internationally renowned and respected campaign for truth and justice for her husband. Her campaign helped uncover and prove collusion between the British state and the Loyalist killers who entered her home in 1989. The campaign has taken her to the corridors of power all over the world. She has met Irish Taoiseach, British prime ministers, UN rapporteurs, members of Congress and the Senate, and US presidents. In 2012, the then British Prime Minister, David Cameron, apologized to her privately and publicly for the shocking levels of collusion which led to her husband's murder. She has testified before Congress on numerous occasions and credits the overwhelming United States support as key to ensuring her campaign remains consistently relevant as Ireland emerges from the conflict. Geraldine has consistently stated that the murder of her husband represents the murder of so many others who lost their lives in very similar circumstances. Her campaign for truth, for justice, is a campaign which carries so many other families with her. The system and practices put in place to kill her husband were used widely. She has put herself forward at personal cost and risk to ensure that there will be an independent and transparent examination of the policy of collusion. Geraldine Finucane has always spoken about the importance of ensuring that the pursuit of truth and justice is a common goal, which no one person or family or government has a monopoly on. She has led and fought a campaign which has proven collusion was an accepted policy of the British government and continues to fight for a full judicial inquiry. She is the last person in the world to court the limelight. The only time you see this remarkable woman is when she is presenting herself to the media. Geraldine's assuming demeanor captures the hearts of so many others. While leading this campaign, she ensured all three of her children went to university. Michael, a lawyer, Catherine, a counselor, John, a lawyer, former Lord Mayor of Belfast, and now MP. They have blessed their mother with 7 grandchildren between them. During the dark days of this pandemic, to see this wonderful woman confer with the MacBride Award brightens the lives of all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. A remarkable, remarkable woman. Geraldine, we first met probably 15 plus years ago in Washington, D.C., shortly after you had testified in front of one of Congressman Chris Smith's hearings on peace and justice in the north of Ireland. And since that day, I've just come away always been so inspired by your grace, dignity, and resolve. And as Marilyn said, but I think it's worth repeating, the one thing you stressed that you were working so hard, not only for just your family, but for so many others, because so many others may not get the chance at justice. And, you know, 2 years ago, Marilyn, myself, and indeed our whole Freedom for All Ireland tour stopped by into your neighborhood for the commemoration of Pat's passing. So that day we stood with you, and today in Youngstown, we continue to stand with you. The AOH, the LAOH, and indeed all of Irish America will stay with you and your family until we get justice for your family and so many others. At this time, it is my great honor to introduce the 2021 Sean MacBride Humanitarian Award recipient, Ms. Geraldine Finucane.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Ancient Order of Hibernians and the Ladies Ancient Order of Hibernians, can I start by expressing how disappointed I am that I didn't make it to Youngstown. I want to thank everybody who did their utmost to get me there. It just was unfortunate that I couldn't get there. Also, can I thank the people who have congratulated me on this award. Their words are very kind and make me feel very humble, actually. I really do want to thank you for this honour, for this award, and for the invitation to share it with you and to speak today. It is truly humbling to be singled out by such a venerable organisation and to have my name added to the list of distinguished recipients of the Sean MacBride Humanitarian Award. Sean MacBride was an Irish lawyer and human rights activist who was instrumental in founding several organisations like Amnesty International and the International Commission of Jurists, both of whom have supported my family and me during our campaign for an independent public inquiry into the murder of my husband, Pat. Sean MacBride was one of the first chairpersons of Amnesty International from 1961 to 75, and the Secretary General of the International Commission of Jurists from 1963 to 1970. In 73, he became the Assistant Secretary General to the United Nations, and in 74 was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Perhaps the greatest significance to me personally is that Sean MacBride was a practicing lawyer in Ireland during the post-independence years and often defended unpopular people before the courts of the newly formed Irish Republic. He faced much criticism for challenging the measures of internment and capital punishment enforced by the government of the day, but he continued with his work because he believed very strongly in the fundamental human rights of every person. He argued for these rights on behalf of people in the courtrooms of his own country, as well as on the international stage. My husband, Pat, believed strongly in these things too. He worked on behalf of people from his community in Belfast who found themselves on the receiving end of the most atrocious violations of their rights at the hands of the British state. Pat's work often brought him into contact with people who'd been falsely accused, unlawfully detained, threatened, beaten, and sometimes killed by state agents. It would not be long before Pat found himself enduring obstruction and hostility in his work and being told by people he represented of threats to his life by members of the Royal Ulster Constabulary. In 1988, just weeks before he was killed, a junior British government minister publicly slandered the reputation of human rights lawyers in Northern Ireland, saying they were unduly sympathetic to the IRA. Plans of an imminent attack on Pat's life were known to various British state agencies and the RUC, but no warnings were given to us. We were left in a state of ignorance and were completely unprepared for the eventual attack that would prove fatal. That was Sunday, the 12th of February, 1989. An ordinary day for most, but for us, it was the day our world changed forever. Since that day, my family and I have travelled the globe seeking the help of others to uncover the truth behind Pat's murder. I have testified before Congress about the evidence in our case as have my sons, John and Michael. The first time Michael testified before the House of Representatives was in 1997, and two distinguished members of the AOH and the LAOH, Mr. Edward Wallace and Ms. Mary Paglioni, also spoke about unresolved cases of human rights abuses in Northern Ireland. Our efforts have continued unabated since then, and in February 2019, we won our case before the UK Supreme Court, who declared that all investigations so far held were inadequate because they did not meet the standard required by the European Convention on Human Rights. We thought that this would force the British government finally to establish an inquiry. Instead, they refused and are now embarking on a course of action that would not only preclude an inquiry into Pat's case, but all cases involving the conflict in Northern Ireland. It is no exaggeration to say that the British simply want to sweep its actions and responsibilities under the carpet forever, with no risk of any exposure. Inquests would be banned, civil actions halted, prosecutions discontinued, police ombudsman investigations would be ended, and the legacy investigation branch of the PSNI abolished. None of these measures, which have been strongly criticised by all quarters, including the AOH and the LAOH and Congress, have been proposed because of a lack of evidence of wrongdoing. Quite the contrary. It is precisely because of the existence of compelling evidence, in some cases overwhelming evidence, of British state complicity in abuses and killings, that the move to close down investigations and inquiries has been so comprehensive. My family and I will not cease in our efforts to prevent this from happening, and I know that we can rely on the support of our friends worldwide, not least the AOH and the LAOH, to ensure that this does not happen. It is no easy thing to campaign for 30 years to uncover the truth. It has involved a great deal of effort, patience, and resilience. There have been a great many disappointments along the way, in spite of some successes. At times, the stubborn refusal of the British government to establish an inquiry seems insurmountable, but we have found the strength to carry on. It is because of the support of our friends worldwide that we have been able to do so. The AOH and the LAOH and many organisations like it around the world have been an invaluable source of strength and sustenance when the struggle is hard to maintain. My family and I cannot thank you enough for the unflinching solidarity you have shown to our family and the many, many families who struggle on today in pursuit of truth and justice for their loved ones. The recent turbulence in the world as a result of the COVID pandemic has tested us all. Only now is the world emerging from its grip. If the pandemic and its effects have shown us anything, it is that only by working together and helping each other that we can meet and solve the great challenges of our time. We must ensure that the truth behind the events of the conflict is uncovered, preserved, and presented to the world before it is too late. This is no easy task, but it is one that we can accomplish together as a community. I have long believed that the truth must be told about the murder of my husband in order for Northern Ireland to have any chance of moving beyond conflict permanently. The legacy of conflict in Northern Ireland cannot be allowed to become clouded in secrecy forever. Too many were taken from us too soon for that to happen. I know that we will all work together to make sure that it does not. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the honor of receiving this award.